Chair of the committee, again standing in for Chairman Jack Christie. We're going to move on to our next presentation. I think we have the same attendees for the most part, with a few staff substitutions for their council members, but we're going to get started with our presentation from Human Resources. So I'd like to welcome Director Cheeks and let you begin your presentation.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair, and also thank you, council members. I want to thank you for the opportunity to present our proposed budget for FY19. The Human Resources Department continues to commit to the 3 areas I stood before you and discussed almost 3 years ago: collaboration, analytics, and transparency. In FY18, we also added responsiveness as we continue engaging in an active partnership with departments. As you can see by the organizational chart, HR is comprised of 9 divisions. At this time, I would like to introduce my executive staff. If everyone would stand, please. Thank you. And to my right, I have my new CFO, Allison Biker. I also would be remiss if I didn't thank Carla Coleman and her analysts for all the hard work they did on this presentation. Analysts, would you stand, please? Thank you very much. HR continues to embrace the importance of engaging our workforce now more than ever. Our goal is to make every contact with the public and our employees a positive one. To the HR team, customer service comes first every day. HR has a total operating budget of $466,989,000 with 300 FTEs. The increase of 31 FTEs is due to the Houston Public Works consolidation of HR functions in risk management and HR operations. The increase to HR's budget related to the Houston Public Works consolidation is approximately $2.9 million. Risk management increased approximately $2.1 million after consolidating safety and claims management. Client relations, approximately $800,000 after consolidating the HR operations function. Although HR does not have true revenue generating funds, we have budgeted revenues with an increase of 4.9%. Most of that increase is derived from Health Benefits Fund and the Workers' Compensation Fund to help protect us from escalating costs. The only real revenue we generate is in the general fund. FY19 budget is $5,000, which represents fees collected for TIPIA requests. HR budget expenses for FY19 only increased by 3.3%. Health benefits and workers' compensation are driving this increase due to catastrophic claims and program utilization. These increases were offset by reductions in the general fund by 14.7% due to the transferring of records management to client relations and by reducing personnel costs and expenses to meet the budget target. The Central Service Revolving Fund also offset increases by reducing the contingent workforce budget to accommodate contractual spending limitations while absorbing 9 FDEs due to the HPW consolidation and by adding records management to its operation. For long-term disability, the increase of the $38,000 is an actuarial claim projection. The HR department supports over 21,000 city employees and retirees, with 6% of the total budget, which represents personnel costs. Health benefits plans include wellness program, which represents 92% of the total other expenses, followed by workers' compensation, which consumes 4%. Contractual agreements and other services and restricted accounts represent the remaining balance. Other restricted accounts include IT services, HR services, and other chargebacks. The general fund personnel costs represents 84% of the total budget, and other expenses represent 16%. Restricted accounts represent 76%, and the other expense category leaving 24% in supplies and services to operate and service over 21,000 city employees. The Central Service Revolving Fund personnel costs represents 62% of the total budget, and other expenses represent 38%. Contractual services represented by contingent workforce, which is budgeted by $7.4 million. The remainder represents client services and training expenses. The workers' compensation personnel costs represents 19% of the total budget, and other expenses represent 81%. Claims budgeted represents 83% of the other expense category, and the remaining balance represents the TPA fees and safety program. The health benefits personnel costs represents 1% of the total budget, and other expenses represent 99%. Health benefits plan, medical, dental, life, vision, including wellness, represent the majority of the other expenses budget. The long-term disability budget remains flat, and its budget consists of claims and TPA fees. HR has reduced their general fund over the course of the past 3 years by $300,000 while maintaining service levels to the departments. The general fund targets were met by reducing FTEs and contractual obligations. HR's general fund contributed 2% budget reduction by eliminating a position, offset with a slight increase in our health insurance. If HR had done more than the 2% reduction, it would have resulted in a reduction in our workforce, therefore impacting our services to the department. The general fund decreased 14.7% from FY18's budget, mostly due to, again, the transferring of records administration program to client relations and the decrease of some of the restricted accounts. On my last slide, I would just like to show again that the Human Resources Department is comprised of 5 funds managed by 300 FTEs. Council members, do you have any questions at this time?
Thank you for your presentation, Director Cheeks. We appreciate it, and the timeliness of your presentation as well. Before we enter address those that are in the queue, I just want to start off by getting a couple of points of clarification. Why, with regard to the catastrophic illnesses increasing on slide 6, why do we project that increase will be so steep?
On slide 6?
Yes.
The catastrophic illnesses within the city have been projected based on the claims that we've actually received. At the end of the day, it's with regret that I inform you we have had several lung transplants, we've had several preemies, and those add to our catastrophic events.
Okay, thank you. And I want to go ahead and get my colleagues an opportunity to speak, and I believe Mayor Pro Tem Cohen is the first in the queue.
Thank you. It's very funny because that's almost the exact question I had written down here. But I guess mine is just a follow-up then to the vice chairs. There's catastrophes every year.
Yes, sir.
So what I'm wondering is, how can you budget? Can you budget for catastrophes? In other words, you're saying you had a couple of lung transplant cases and a couple of preemie babies. Next year, would it be wrong to anticipate, the same number? I mean, we're always going to have catastrophes, so what I guess I'm trying to figure out is how that can be catastrophic and not a regular budget item.
Well, in reference to our claims, we have for claims that are over $200,000, we had 104. For claims over $500,000, we had 23. And Councilmember, you are exactly right. The first year that I became director of the department, we had no really, really large catastrophic claims. In my second year, it's like the floodgates opened up, and we almost exceeded our budget with respect to the catastrophic claims that we have. So you are correct. It ebbs and flows, and it's very, very hard to manage that. And
is there an average, Director? If you averaged it out over the last 5 years or 8 years, where you would come up with a figure that you could budget for and not be surprised?
No, and I say that in the fact that we use the actual claims to look at what it is we need to do. Now, we may be a little bit over in the following year, and we may be a little bit under, and that helps us with respect to having the contingency money that we use should we go over.
Thank you, and I appreciate your clear presentation today, and the fact that when you're asked questions, you always have the answers ready at your fingertips. So thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Before we move on, I want to make sure we greet and welcome to the chamber Councilmember Stardick, who has joined us, as well as Councilmember Boykins, who's come back to the chambers. Councilmember Kubash, you're next.
Thank you very much. It's good to see you, Ms. Cheeks.
Good to see you, Councilmember.
And please introduce the lady beside you. I tried to write her name down. Allison?
Allison Biker, yes.
Spell it.
B-E-I-C-K-E-R.
Okay. Thank you very much. What is our total expenses, since we're self-insured? How much did we spend on health care? And what page is that on? Is that on page 7?
Yes.
So we spent $438 million.
Yes, sir.
And of that, we had some catastrophic losses, you're saying?
Yes, sir, we did.
Is there a way to buy a catastrophic insurance policy, and would it be reasonably priced where you say, there's a deductible of $200,000, let's say, and buy an insurance policy to protect us from catastrophic losses when things get out of hand like that?
Councilmember, in all actuality, we have done some research behind that. And what we have found is that would be something that would probably cost the city more dollars. As we enter...
Well, it's going to cost us more dollars for sure, but I'm just wondering, we weren't going to carry flood insurance. Councilmember Martin said years ago he was trying to fight us carrying flood insurance.
Yes, sir.
And look, we had a flood.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I just want to be sure that you're aware that those are things that we've actually looked into.
So I'm not thinking outside the box. Y'all have already done it.
Yes, sir. Definitely.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
The other thing is people live longer now.
They do.
And we've stopped. We've reduced smoking.
Yes, sir.
And I think we'll live longer. Some of us have reduced eating.
Yes, sir.
Which
I appreciate that, sir.
We'll live a little longer. So. I was looking at one of the charts here, and it looks like I'll get back in the queue then.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Boykins.
Thank you. I didn't step out. I just went to the restroom. I didn't know I had to sign back in. I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
I just wanted to greet you. That's all, Councilmember.
I love you too. I didn't know we had. I said I just went to the restroom. Director Cheeks, thank you so much. Miss Allison Vicker?
Biker.
Thank you for your presentation as well. Have we met, Allison?
In the elevator.
I met formally here, like with Miss Cheeks. You're a director. You're a deputy director.
She's an assistant director. My new CFO.
Oh, she's new. That's why.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Yes.
Miss Cheeks run a tight ship, and I just want to say, when you came in, Jane, you and your staff, we really haven't seen any major alerts since you've taken over, and I want to commend you on what you're doing with your team. I think
you.
all the council members will probably understand that it was tough when you walked in, and you've really brought a different, vibrant, life, I guess, breath of life to your department. I do have a question with regard. Oh, well, first of all, you guys have Cigna right now, right? You work
Yes,
with
sir.
Cigna?
Yes, sir.
And I know we had Blue Cross Blue Shield when I first came in, and then Cigna came in,
Yes, sir.
and a lot of people were kind of sort of uncomfortable because it was new. But I could tell you from the feedback I've been getting lately that everybody have gotten comfortable in the saddle and have worked real well with Cigna. And, I don't know what's going on with the future of that industry, but I just want to commend Cigna on being a good customer to the city of Houston and to the employees and making them feel comfortable. My question is, do we have short-term disability?
Presently, we do not have short-term disability, only long-term disability.
Are we looking at bringing in short-term?
We have researched short-term disability, and Councilmember, I don't want to say that that's a no. As we look at the different RFPs that we have to research for this new fiscal year, that could definitely be something that we will research. But as of today, the only thing that we've entered into an agreement with has been just long-term disability.
And I think if we would consider that, Jane, as we issue the next RFP, just to see how we can afford it, I think from perspective of services to our employees, it would be a great thing.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, Jane. Nice meeting you, ma'am, in the elevator.
Councilmember Stardig.
Thank you. I apologize. I was taking care of some other issues. And
No problem.
my arrival was after your presentation or during it. So the conversation is around the catastrophic illnesses and plan utilization, and the number I'm looking at is that, what is the total there of the fund 9,000?
For, I'm sorry, let me go back to my slide.
Page 6 that y'all were.
Yes. Increase, the 21,870? Yes, ma'am.
What is the actual dollar amount? I ask you to read, actually in dollars. It's 21 million?
Yes.
I'd like it to be said out loud how much it is.
Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, 21 million.
2,184,000. Right here?
I'm sorry,
On the health
that's
benefits
smaller.
fund 9,000.
Yes, 2,187,184,000. And I apologize, Councilmember. My notes are large on here, but the slide is very, very small. So I apologize for that.
I'm confused. We're confused. On health fund benefits 9,000, fund 9,000. You've increased it by what amount? It's in thousands. That's what she wants.
It's 21,870. Yeah, that's 20. I'm sorry, I was
You
correct.
have it in thousands up here, but then you added the K down here. So I want to make sure that we're very clear on the actual amount, because either you say in thousands or you say K. I don't believe you say both. And so could you read the amount that is intended to have in this column under Fund 9,000?
It's going to be the 21,870.
Not 2 million.
No.
$21,870,000.
Yes, ma'am.
If I may get my question in real quick, I'd appreciate it. We're looking at 21 million and increased for due to catastrophic illnesses and plan utilization. So when you say increased by, your budget has been increased by that amount?
No, the budget hasn't been increased by that amount, Council Member. That is the increased number of claims and
Actual
everything.
claims and losses.
Yes, ma'am.
So when we're talking about insurance, we talk about actuarial science, and statistics should be in play here, and we should have a scientific way of figuring these things out based on the demographics, the age and population of our employees. The insurance companies do this all the time, and I want to make sure that I understand that we're not just doing, based on last year or based on, there's more to this. There's an actual science to this, if I understand, that we need to be looking at and projecting going forward. Can you confirm that that is what we're doing, or is it just, well, this is what happened last year and we didn't have any in my first term or my first year? That's a little unsettling. So I want to make sure we get the facts out there.
No, yes, ma'am. We are looking at data that we receive from my department, the HR department's benefits section. My team, Dr. Nicole Hr and her team, they receive information and do analysis from the information that we receive from Cigna. So we actually have quarterly.
I want to know if they're actually using scientific data, if they have the qualifications to make those calculations, because this could put us in the hole. Because when you increase over year after year, 21 million, that's a little unsettling.
Madam Chair, if she will allow, if my colleague will allow her to finish, because we're listening to her, she's cutting off.
Guys. Okay, we want Director Cheeks to respond to the question, and then we'll put other council members back in the queue and move on to the next council member. So if you could finish your response, and then we'll move back into the queue, and you're welcome to get back in the queue, council member.
Okay, for clarity, and I'm glad Dr. Nicole Hr has joined me here at the podium, and she can actually explain how we do it. Thank you, Nicole.
No problem, Director. So, Councilmember Stardig, we do use actuarial services to predict this. This comes from services rendered through Cigna. In that case, we do a look back and a look forward. In this particular case, for this budget year, you have to understand that Hurricane Harvey was devastating. We had a lot of first responders on the ground, not just our classified employees, but also our municipal employees. So looking at that incident in particular, we're anticipating a high volume of claims coming through due to infections, sepsis, all types of things, just being in that flood water. So that's one thing that will spike the claims this year in catastrophic. You made mention of another point of the age of our population, which is about 47.5, 47 years old, dominantly male. If you take all of those demographics into perspective, we know that chronic conditions and illnesses certainly come around that age point. So with our population being long tenured here at the city, we can expect that we'll see a spike in other chronic conditions that can move forward into a catastrophic claim if we do not continue to have preventative services on the ground here, like our wellness team.
Thank you for that response. Councilmember Kubash.
Thank you very much. So I appreciate that update, and I think it's important for us to stay ahead of the curve on any of this, especially since we're self-insured.
Yes, sir.
We have to really be watching what's going on, and I would assume that you work closely with Cigna, and they have, I'm sure that they have a wealth of information concerning medical care and data and all this other. I think being data driven is the key on all this with all of us. And so, but anyway, I appreciate your presentation. Just want to make sure we have insurance for everyone.
Yes,
that's
sir.
the main thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Boykins.
Thank you, Councilmember Stardick. You can take up my time. I didn't mean to be disrespectful. I was listening to what she was saying. But if you want to finish up, you're welcome to jump into my time. No, I'm going to give it to you. No,
she's next in the queue, so if you don't have a question, just to remind everybody, we're at 3:20 and we're running behind on our presentation, so just be conscious of that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I said this once and I say it again, we wait all year on these presentations. I don't rush. No disrespect to the chair. I told other departments the same thing. We get these presentations at the last minute and they expect us to rush through committees. No disrespect. It ain't got nothing to do with no person. I take my time because these are some good questions. And I want to thank you, ma'am, for clarifying what Councilman Stardick was asking. I want to say again to the HR department, your entire team, I remember from where it come from. and where it is today. And you guys have done an outstanding job in terms of streamlining your budget, in terms of putting programs in place. And when you partnered with Cigna, I remember it was an issue around the city. And the morale among city employees were not positive with the Kelsey-Sebo model and all that. And now you guys have turned that curve. So I just want to commend you all for what y'all have done. And I know there's still work to be done. Keep it up. Seems like you got a great team. And thank you, Director Cheeks, for what you do.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Councilmember Stardy.
Thank y'all very much. Good job. Excellent, President. That's exactly what we needed to hear, because it sounded like we were just going a little bit too general, and I don't think that was the intent. I just think that's the direction the response, it just happens. My question now is, since we have solidified that it's scientific and that we're using the expertise of those individuals, so do we feel comfortable in this budget that we've allocated and budgeted that with the projections and the calculations and based on the data, scientific data, do we feel comfortable with the budget that you presented, or is there do you project there's going to be a gap or something that we're going to have to make up? I know I get that it's not perfect, but if there's any hesitation, is this the numbers you presented and then you were asked to cut back? I need to know that today. Because if you were asked to cut back, these are numbers that I'm not willing to cut back on personally, because we do need to make sure that those dollars are available for those reasons you stated, for those Harvey victims, for anyone that was out there, first responders, for anyone else that was involved, because those are things that have been predicted and are scientific data in history on the books of other storms where those illnesses appear and develop over time.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
So again, we don't have a glass ball to understand what's going to go on in the marketplace. Of course, when we look at our costs, we're not just looking at catastrophic illnesses, but we're also looking at pharmacy utilization, and we know that we have no control over pharmacy and the costs that the drug companies put out there in terms of specialty drugs and even generic drugs. Then we look at our capitation rate as well as our TPA administration fee. So those two, the capitation rate and the TPA administration fee, are solid, but when you go over to the utilization and the pharmacy utilization, those are things that we just can't predict. And with one condition, it can be 7 people in the city that can push us over the edge.
Yeah, and I get that, but my question is, as you projected within all the information you have, are these the numbers you presented, or were you asked to modify them back or bring them back?
No, that we weren't asked to modify them or bring them back.
These are your numbers.
But again, we can't predict if we go over those numbers either, just due to the population.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And I have a question with respect to the actual budget book on page 11, or section 11, page 3. There seems to be an increase in between fiscal year 18 and 19 between what the other services and charges are. And it seems that amount is about close to almost $30 million. So just trying to get clarity on that. And if you need to take a little time with that, that's okay. I can post that on the City Point system also.
Yes, Councilmember, if you would, I assure you that we will answer that very timely for you.
Okay, we'll do it.
Yes.
Anybody else, council members? Okay, I want to get staff from Councilmember Travis's office.
Thank you, Chair. On page 6, contingent workforce services, that decrease of $12 million, what is that?
In contingent workforce services?
In the Central Services Revolving Fund. What is contingent workforce services?
That's our temp services. Just another name for our temp services.
Okay.
So we actually, due to the fact that our contract for temp services is actually almost out of money, what we've done is that the money that has been left, we are making sure that the departments that need to utilize it, i.e. for those type things like Harvey, are getting the money that's necessary. Within the Human Resources Department, the only thing that I actually use temps for is I use them as proctors when I give the fire exams. So therefore, my budget allowed for me to decrease and send that money to another department that needed it. So I reduced it.
So the $12 million reduction actually just went out to other departments?
Yes, ma'am.
Got it.
It went out to other departments.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and Several years ago, there was a study of health benefits across governmental agencies in the area, Metro, HGAC, HASD, not HGAC, Harris County, HISD. Has that been updated? Do you know?
It has been updated, and I can provide that for you. Yes, ma'am, I sure can.
Okay. Oh, darn.
You're still in, you can get back.
Okay,
into-
sorry, one more thing. Just
problem.
what's the average classified salary plus benefits in this 2019 budget? And then also for non-classified.
For non-classified, okay, I will get that information and I will send that to you.
Thanks.
Yes, to everyone. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, can you make sure you distribute it to all of us? So
Yes.
post it on City Point, but if you could send it to Matt, he'll get it distributed.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Seeing that there are no further questions in the queue, I'll open this up for public comments. Is there anyone in the public that wants to ask a question? Seeing that there are no bites there, Director Cheeks, we appreciate your presentation and willingness to field our questions. And again, if we have additional questions, feel free to utilize City Point. Thank you again.
Thank you.